Welcome to Resource PNG. Over the coming weeks, we will be showcasing some interviews taken from the 2015 PNG Mining and Petroleum Conference in Port Moresby. During the course of the conference, Resource PNG had the opportunity to speak with a few leaders within the extractive industry in the country. We begin this episode with Mining Minister Byron Chan. We're privileged to have with us the Minister for Mining, Byron Chan. Thank you so much for joining us on Resource PNG. Now,
Thank you.
2015 has been a very eventful year, but the recent years have also been eventful in the mining sector, with mineral exploration dropping. Is this a concern?
Thank you. Yeah, it has been a concern, we've actually, PNG, because of its potential that we have, although we may have had a lot of junior companies not being able to get that finance that they require during these difficult times, they've given up some of their explorations. However, there are other companies that have come in at this time and then picked them up. So there's a lot of exploration happening in PNG, regardless of the downfall or the downturn.
And obviously 2015 was a big year for mining. Unfortunately, we saw the shutdown of Tedi for a temporary period, and also Pogera. You as Minister responsible, have you been given any indication as to when these two mines might reopen?
Not lately. I've had a lot of prayers, but no indication from above yet. But like I said, these are acts of God, the drought, things that, we're going through some very difficult times in Pogera and Tedi because of the drought. We just hope that in the next couple of months things will get better and we'll get back to normal.
The government has also announced recent plans to raise the equity in mining projects to about 50%. Do you think this might scare away some investors that want to do mining in PNG?
Depends where you're looking from it, From PNG side, from a personal local landowner or PNG view, or people may consider that is the best interest and way forward for Papua New Guinea to have more equity participation, more benefits, because it's their resource. From an investment point of view, it also could be viewed as a good gesture by the government to take up 50%. As a partner towards developing the project. What other better partner than that you can have when the government is there? However, these issues are still to be discussed. It's being discussed right now. 50% is an issue that we have to deal with, but I don't believe that we may go that far. But you have to look at the positive side of things, and our people is what our government and myself have to represent. And if I say 50%, it's for our people, for our government, and actually gives comfort to investors who want to partner with the government. Otherwise, it can be looked more difficult by people who want to drive their project themselves. Like I said, it's still up to discussion. I have a final draft of the Mining Act amendment, which I'll be discussing now during this forum, and there's still time to discuss this equity participation.
Now, despite all the unfortunate incidents within mining in 2015, progress is being made with two projects in particular. This is Frida River and Wafi Golpu. What are your expectations as Minister for these two very big projects?
These projects are very big, similar to Tedi. and at this time very costly. There's been a lot of discussions between myself and all parties in the Freda River and Wafi. We expect a lot of progress next year, hopefully feasibility studies, and that leads to possible an application towards a possible mining lease in the near future. So Wafi looks very positive. Freda River as well. The new shareholders have maintained the current management. Current management has maintained its timeline to make sure that the project is on time, online, and never have deviated from the takeover. So it looks very exciting that both Freda River and Wafi will come in online before 2017.
You're watching Resource PNG. Don't go away. We continue our chat with Mining Minister Byron Chan after these messages. Welcome back to Resource PNG. In recent years, there have been talks about reviewing Papua New Guinea's Mining Act. And according to Mining Minister Byron Chan, the process of reviewing the Mining Act has already begun, with proposed amendments to soon go before Parliament. Minister Chan spoke about these changes and what they aim to achieve for the country's mining industry. In your presentation, you mentioned some major changes to the Mining Act review. Are you able to share with our viewers what these changes mean and what they are?
Thank you. I did mention some of the major changes, but a lot of it is just technical, and I can't go through that through the in the forum. It takes some time. I just gave an overview on basically what the current legislative changes actually it defines more the vagues in the current Mining Act. The current Mining Act is it's one of the best in the world. I've been told by everyone in the last 4 years it is one of the best in the world, yes. And the reason being because the lines are not fully drawn or not clear. The boundaries are not clear. So sometimes we can operate when and issue licenses and for the sake of the economy, the project, we go through those areas of vagueness. So this Mining Act now draws clearly the boundaries and the 6 policies attached with the Mining Act as well. So there's very fine lines now that cannot be abused or misused in towards developing a mine, whatever scale of mining is. So that is more. I must say that this new Mining Act amendments are more clear, more defined. It also gives confidence to exploration companies from a current 2-year exploration license up to a 5-year exploration license, giving comfort to the exploration companies. When they find or they don't find, that 5-year term actually gives comfort and confidence to that area of exploration. In this very difficult times where exploration companies are really squeezing the budget and people are not going that way too much, this amendment gives quite a challenge to the industry, because basically that's what they really want. And basically we want that as well. We want confidence in the industry, in exploration, and we really want to find out what is out there.
Minister, at this point in time, prices are low. Is this one way of encouraging more investment into the mining industry in PNG?
That's correct. It's one of the ways. The others, I believe, Nathan has just addressed MD, director with the MRA on geological surveys. The MRA is taken out, mapping systems. They have an online registration system as well, and that's world class. That system, cadastral system that they have in MRA now, updates all mineral tenements to this every hourly or whenever tenements are addressed. That system keeps everyone aware about what's available in country, what is to be available, and what is now current. So the online tenement structure and cadastral system that the MRA has is also another way to encourage investors, make it less expensive and more cost effective for them to be able to seek and address the acquisition of tenements at this time, which they find very expensive, coming back and forth to the country and to address just the application process. Now they can stay wherever they are around the world and address it at that. So it's terrific opportunity.
Just going back to the review of the Mining Act, when can we expect to see these being tabled on the floor of Parliament?
As I said in the forum, and the forum is another avenue that I have had the opportunity to give a final outcome of what the industry and the department and our people have discussed in the last 4 years as minister, but it has been ongoing by various ministers as well. So the consultation process of this amendment has gone over 9 years. The previous 2 ministers have addressed these amendments as well, and I'm just in a position now that a final draft has been delivered. We're still in the consultation process. Hopefully by next year sometime, the government and the industry and our people can be alerted to the new, a more definite Mining Act that will address our people's needs, participation, and more benefits.
Landowner benefits, are there any amendments to that? Will they be getting more, or what is the focus on the review regarding landowner benefits?
My department has addressed the landowner benefits, and we've come up to a particular percentage. But those percentages and royalty issues, equity participation, we have now had because of the Fiscal Commission has come in to address, we passed it on to the Fiscal Commission, and we'll see. We have not addressed the Fiscal Commission's resolutions and outcomes, so we are keenly waiting to address that and see whether we can absorb some of that in the new Mining Act. So, but those issues have been dealt with the Fiscal Commission, not actually with us.
2016 looks to be a big year. Wafi Golpu is a name that's being thrown around everywhere. It's a new big, some call it the next Tedi. As the minister responsible, can you just provide an update on how this project is going and what government is doing to ensure that it gets started on time?
Yes, Wafi Golpu could be the next Tedi. It could have a mine life of around 70 years. However, it won't be like Tedi as you see Tedi now. From the outskirts, the overall picture of Tedi as you see it, that won't be happening. You won't be able to see the actual open cut pit, and that's what's proposed at this time. It's a different type of mining. It's underground and collapsing mining system, which the South Africans and the Newcrest, they have well perfected to an extent. They've, nothing is really perfected, but they have engineered, they've gone through, they've experienced this type of underground mining, and it will be one of the biggest underground mining systems mine in the southern hemisphere, and yeah, we're working towards developing the project. I have a state negotiating team under the chairmanship of my department, ready to address the company, the issues that the company has with infrastructure, other financial outcomes of this. My department chairman, which is the secretary, will be able to address these issues before it comes into a production or construction phase. So with the government has, and the NEC, with the Prime Minister, that we've already consented to this state negotiating team to give comfort to this project, to address Wafi Glopu and to address Feeder River and Yandara as well.
On that note, Minister, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're watching Resource PNG. Up next, we speak to Tedi Mining Managing Director Peter Graham. Welcome back to Resource PNG. 2015 has been one of the toughest years for Tedi Mine in Western Province. This mine, which for many years has played a large part in providing much-needed revenue for the country, had been forced to suspend operations following the effects of the prolonged drought. Resource PNG had the opportunity to speak with OTML Managing Director and CEO Peter Graham to get an update on the situation at Tedi. 2015 has been an eventful year for Tedi with the unfortunate suspension of operations. Can you just brief us on what the situation is now at the site?
It's been a tough year for Tedi, there's no question. We shut down in mid-August after struggling through July and August, hoping that the weather would break, but it didn't. And we kept going as long as we could until we could no longer keep up supplies of food and fuel and the like. And then had to shut down and essentially move out some 9,000 people, employees, contractors, the families and so on, repatriate them back to their homes. So it's been particularly tough on employees and casual employees and contractors, just surviving, without full payment during that period. We are paying people 30% of their normal pay as an allowance to hopefully retain those employees. They want to come back, but also to provide them just a basic level of sustenance to get by through this period. So.
In terms of monetary value, how much loss has this meant for the company?
Look, it's difficult to put a number on that today, but I mean, in very simple terms, we've lost about a third of our production this year. So, I mean, that gives you a good indication, I think, about the impact of the operation on the operation. So.
What are some measures that the company has in place for future incidents of this sort?
It's obviously made us think long and hard about how we weatherproof our business going forward. We're very reliant on diesel, not just for our mining operations, but also for power generation. So finding an alternate to diesel is we're very incentivized to find that. So we're in discussions with the Stanley Gas joint venture to see if we can reach a commercial understanding with them that we would buy power from the joint venture. And that would relieve a lot of the stress that we have on supplies for diesel. We're also working very hard on just reducing the power demand at the mine. There are things we can do to limit the power and therefore the consumption of diesel in the operations. Looking even at potentially powering the mining trucks with gas. These days there's a technology developed that allows compressed natural gas to be the fuel for mining vehicles. So they're the sort of initiatives we're working on. It's really about relieving or reducing that reliance on diesel in particular, which has to come up the river. So.
In terms of reopening the mine, do you have a time frame that you'd like to work towards?
We'd like to start just as soon as we can, but based on the weather forecast that we have access to, both in Papua New Guinea and in Australia, indications are perhaps February, March. The El Nino is forecast to extend really towards the end of the first quarter of next year. So we're hopeful we can come back February, March, come up on one train, one processing line, and then progressively ramp our production up in the first couple of months.
If production does start, how long do you think it'll take to recoup the money that has been lost during non-production?
Wow. Well, really it's a matter of catching up 3 months production. And it's not as if you can add that to the base level of production. So I mean, it's really lost revenue, I mean, in that sense. when we come back up, 1 or 2 months to get a ramp up to full production rate, and then hold production as high as we can going forward. So,
hopeful of having all your staff recalled back up to site?
Look, I think so. We're looking at every cost reduction opportunity that we have in the mine today through suppliers, all of our contracts. But labour represents about 20% of our total costs, so we've got to look at labour as well. So we've yet to conclude those reviews on what happens, but when we shut down we had 1,650 employees. They're all off on allowance or back at the mine doing work during the suspension period. Undoubtedly we will lose some of those employees who in this period of time have gone off to work elsewhere. So what that balance turns out to be is yet to be seen. But the workforce is very valuable to us. I mean, they're highly skilled. Tedi's invested a lot of money over the years in their development, so we'd like the majority of our employees to come on back.
The big reason why the mine was shut down was, as you said, the effects of El Nino.
Yes.
And I understand the company has actually made an announcement for some assistance for the people in Western Province. Can you just explain that?
Yes, we've done a number of things during the suspension period, even though we're stressed, in terms of no revenue coming into the business. But most recently we announced a 5 million kina contribution towards purchasing and supplying emergency foodstuffs for the people in the province. I mean, people are really doing it tough with gardens having died off and access to water. So supplying rice and water really is a priority. So Tedi is very pleased to make that contribution, and it will be funneled through the Interagency Emergency Disaster Centre to coordinate the distribution of that food and water. So along with one of the landowner trusts, they too have contributed 5 million kina, which is really full marks to them for stepping up and making a contribution during a difficult time. So combined with our 5 million, that'll go a long way towards satisfying the immediate needs, at least for food. So.
And with production suspended, have you received support from landowners regarding this issue?
Regarding
the suspension, no quarrels?
Well, Tedi for many years has had very good relationships with the mining communities and beyond. And we've kept up that consultation process through the suspension period so that they understand what's going on. I mean, they're obviously doing it tough. There's less money circulating through the communities, but they understand. They've been there before in 1997, 1998. And I mean, I must say they're very supportive, the local communities. So,
final question, Mr. Graham. In 12 months' time, where would you like to see Tedi?
Tedi will come back a stronger company than when it went into this suspension period. I'm confident that will happen. It's got a strong workforce, a good ore body to mine, and good equipment and processes. So we're going to come back much stronger than we went down, and we'll be a very successful company when we come back up.
On that note, Mr. Graham, thank you so much.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Resource PNG. If you would like to contribute to the program, get in touch with us via email on resourcepng@mtv.com.pg. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Resource PNG. To view this episode again, you can log on to www.mtv.com.pg, where you can find a link to the Resource PNG page. We look forward to your company same time next week on Resource PNG. Bye for now.